Ah, okay.
Okay, so welcome to our next Fida Talks. We've got Carmen Chofre.
Perfect.
Hope good. I've said it correct. And Carmen was a finalist for this year. And I think we were a finalist in the last awards as well. Yes.
As well, also, yeah.
So you've got a good record with hitting the finals. It's just getting to the next one. To be honest, Carmen, it was literally one vote right at the end. What happened on the last day? So I'm sorry to say that, but I guess that might give you a bit of positive feedback. And you got really good feedback. And I think a lot of them, even David Downton, loved the work that you submitted and thought it was a beautiful piece. So you got really good feedback. It was just a case of one vote. So I thought I'd share it with you because yours was the closest, and it was a shame because I thought yours piece was beautiful. Even the winning piece was beautiful as well. So it was a really close match. And I'm getting messages. I cannot find the link. So some people are trying to find the link. I don't know why. I don't know what to do here. Let me see what I could do. Okay. I'm just going to copy because a few people might want the link that are in that are on.
I don't say Montserrat Salvat.
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's trying.
Okay, I'm going to put it on here. They send you 1,000 messages, so I'm unfortunately. Let me just check. Hopefully that should fix them. But they can always. Do you know Montserrat?
I know. I talk with her by phone.
Okay.
And sometimes with messages, but not personally, not in person.
Okay. So we don't want to get too distracted by them. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put up on the screen the presentation that I've put together of your work, just so people can see what you did. And so we should be able to see here. A finalist this year and in previous, I think we've got here. Someone else is joining us, so we're going to be joined by. It's probably Montserrat. Yeah, they're all. It's Megan. It's a few people will be joining us. Yeah. So with regards to your work, if you look at your Instagram feed and your work that you submit, you have a very classical approach. We were talking about Uyanuglu yesterday, and I guess he might be a bit of an inspirer to your work. I'm only assuming because you have that sort of academic approach to painting as well as drawing. So, you know, with regards to what you create is beautiful. And it's fascinating to see you switching between both. I guess my biggest question is, why do you feel the need to switch between being an illustrator and being a fine art painter? Because they are kind of, I guess they tap into each other. And we do notice a lot of painter. I'm a painter as well, so, and a printmaker, and you do illustration as well. So it's just always curious to see someone who's a real, like I'd see you as a real fine art painter, like a classical painter, like Uyanuglu or someone like that. And what makes you want to step into the fashion space as well? That, I guess that's a good question for you.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me, Patrick. And for me, it's an honor. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work also with the Fida Award and the Fida platform, because you are supporting us, and this is an important thing.
Thank you.
For all of us. Thank you for the people who are joining us. This is an interesting question and difficult because I don't see such a difference between illustration and painting, because maybe I use the more or less the same techniques, and for me, maybe the difference is the time that I take in the maybe the illustration are more spontaneous work, maybe, I don't know. Some people here, friends, painters, ask me why I'm switching between, why I'm changing to illustration. But I'm not changing my way of working. I'm just moving from one to other constantly. The difference now is that I'm showing my work of illustration. And for me, maybe there is one difference, and it's a positive point for illustration, fashion illustration, that maybe the illustration field is a bit less pretentious.
Yeah.
You know, because maybe you are not supposed to be so serious or so profound. And I don't like to think in something serious and profound, because you can be fresh and funny and be profound at the same time. It doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah.
For me, illustrations has freshness. It's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
You know, and it's also a way to use some techniques that I love. For example, wash, watercolor, ink. But I'm always thinking in painters also. I think in Mariano Fortuny, you know, the father, not the son, the designer. In the inks, the drawing inks of Rembrandt, for example, or the Sorolla wash, the Toulouse-Lautrec drawings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there is not such a difference between.
Yeah, I always, a good example I think is Toulouse-Lautrec, because, and Picasso did early illustrative work. He did lots of books, and I think they're the prime examples, and they probably were more light-hearted rather than the more academic painters or image makers like Duchamp or someone like that, who seems very deep and where art wants to place itself. And I feel that with regards to art, you're quite right. And I have this problem as well, is I find that art is very sort of a difficult place to be, and you feel like you need to be always at your best or best behaved, where illustration seems like you can just have fun and let your hair down and just go for it and see what happens. And I think so when I see your painting and I see your illustration work, I can see the connection, and I really love, and I when I look at the paintings, I feel, you know, it's like I go to the BP Awards quite a lot. So there's the BP at the National Portrait Gallery, and I can imagine your work being there. And sometimes with painting, it feels like it goes through a really rigorous process, which is great, but it almost loses the liveliness of drawing. So when you look at a Goya or you look at Raphael's sketches or things like that, they have energy. And I think that's what drawing is there's a real energy, a thought process, a working process, where painting feels there is nowhere else to go. The painting is here, we look at it, we observe it, and the journey feels complete by the artist. The artist is putting all its pain into the painting, and you're kind of having to immerse yourself in this. And it feels like there's no room, there's no wiggle room, where with illustration, there's bits missing, there's bits unfinished. And I feel like there's lots of little secrets that you could kind of look into when you look at an illustration. The way you do it especially is, you know, the fluid line and almost going for it, and there'll be lots of mistakes or whatever, but I feel there's a real, to be a really confident illustrator like what you're doing, it takes a long time to work out what's right, what's wrong, what mark to make, when to make the mark. And I think it's undervalued for that you have to make a decision, that mark's going to happen, that mark's going to happen. Where in a painting, it can be washed away, it can be redrawn. Yeah, so there's a less of a sort of a journey, and the illustrator's just going for it, and then it's right, and then it's done, and then the next one, and then that one's wrong in the bin, and then the next one. So there's a real sense of like the ones that make it through are the ones that really have all of the attributes for the critical eye of the draftsperson, the drawer. And I feel that that's maybe art, where they bring art into that sort of space. But anyway, I want to go to the next one, because the next image is the piece that they all loved. And I guess for me, this was a phenomenal piece. And I love, you know, someone pointed out that the man in the background sitting down in the suit, but, you know, it's funny how he seemed more important than the woman who's wearing the dress. The man sitting down, the way he sits and the way his feet move in. I think a real illustrator does that, is they capture all the ingredients around the space. So can you explain, like, what was your inspiration for this? Where was your referencing? And what was your journey? Did you do more than one? You know, explain yourself.
You are right, Patrick, when you say that the man is the main character here. You're right. For me is, and although it's in the background and it's in a not so elegant pose, no. For me, when I saw the fashion show category, I thought immediately in representing the model and the public, no, and in the old way, no, in the old fashion shows way, with the front row near the model, in an intimate way. You can see in the same picture the model and the public, the ideal and the ideal we create, and the real world, no, the real people, the common people. And this was a Dior fashion show photograph, and I used to make mix between different photographs. I used to take characters of other photographs and join, blend in the same, no. And in this I wanted to represent also the environment, this golden light involving all of them, the people chatting between chatting each other and staring at the model and taking notes. And I wanted to show also different levels, you know, with the first level with a model and the people near us, and then the background with a more slight or more how I can say more fine treatment, without black strokes, without such a without the contrast we have in the first the eye, I wanted the eye goes to that man in the center with that pose, with the legs like that.
Yeah, it goes like this. It's perfect.
You are right.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a fascinating piece, and I just think, you know, there's a real sense of knowledge of depth of field and space and storytelling and sort of capturing enough without overdrawing. Where I think if this was one of your paintings, I feel that it might be too much and it might be too labored. But it would be you know, it'd be an interesting one to see something like this as a big painting. And I don't know, because usually you have a figure and their environment. And I wonder if you've considered such a piece. But I guess because people were frightened to paint fashion, and I'm wondering if it's something that, because I've never seen paintings like this, like real paintings. Like when I look at your paintings, I think of, like I said, Yunuglu and real draftsman painters, where, and there's never many that paint, unless you go to the National Gallery, you won't see many paintings of moments like a Christian Dior moment. It would have been done by an illustrator, where you've got both the skills of the painter and the illustrator. It would be fascinating to see if you wanted to put in the time to see like a series of moments through history of of fashion shows like this, like develop this into a series of paintings. And I'd love to see that. And you know, even the recent Balenciaga with Philip Tracy hats, another artist had sort of illustrated that moment. She's an illustrator and I guess a painter, but yours is more academic painting, and it would be great to see something like that develop into a show. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but I feel that it would be great to see it.
I was thinking about that because I see the difference between those two paths, the illustration one and the painting one. And I see the similar things also about the style and the way I do both of them. And I was thinking lately, how could I join both? But I think it's something natural. Maybe it's something it's going to happen in the future. Like you know, for me the develop of, or the evolution in the way we paint is something almost biological. It's like growing up or having a baby. It's something natural. But I was thinking about that, how to join this kind of work and the painting one.
Yeah, I think like with all of our competitions, the role of the competition isn't only to play the part of you apply for the competition and you win or lose. The point of the competition is to, I call them like triggers, and it was similar when I did my masters, is you would pose a question and it might be a trigger, and that trigger enables someone like you or someone else to go, okay, I'll try this. And then it gives you a place of inquiry to then continue, or maybe find that the sweet spot, and you say, I never would have done this without entering that award, trying that drawing, and now I'm going to move it into painting. And I feel, for me, it would be the perfect subject matter for you, because when I look at the paintings that you have before, and they're really capturing, I guess, people of today. But I think the fashion world would love to see a level of painting of yours of this content, because it doesn't exist. And as an artist, we feel scared to paint fashion because art tends to hate fashion. I don't know why. Whenever we they'll go, oh, well, it's fashionable and it's trendy. Art isn't about that. Art is about self-expression. And I think what happens is we, the creatives, get sucked into the snobbery of art, and we kind of, rather than just paint things that we really actually love to look at. And I think this is something I would love to see from you. And I feel that if you could do a series of past and contemporary moments in fashion, I think that you would have an audience there that would love your work, and you may have to just close your ears to the art world of snobbery, and be brave. You know, we talk in a lot of our talks, we spoke about being brave and having courage. And I'm in that similar moment where, you know, I paint things and people might say, oh, well, they're very commercial, the things you're painting, which is a horrible thing to hear. But you have to just say that, you know, imagine like Ed Ruscha, David Hockney, all these people who have painted very commercial artworks, Andy Warhol, they were criticized like the pop artists. So I don't know, yours is sort of a movement of art in fashion. And this is really something I'm trying to steam forward with, is this sort of fashion artists or fashion illustrators taken much more seriously. And I'm trying to collect people on my journey. And hopefully I feel that there's a great opportunity here for you. So it's whether you're willing to, because you know, with painting, it's a really, it takes a really soulful movement to decide that you're going to do them paintings, because you're going to get a lot of criticism from your arty friends who are like, well, it's very fashiony and it's not, we don't do fashion, we paint from our souls. So I don't know, that's a problem you're going to have to get over and solve. But you know, as I said, I'd love to see these as paintings and develop them even further, and show us the journey. I'd be fascinated to see, but it's not me having to make that decision, it's you. And I think I pray, like you were saying, you're looking for the fusion, you just don't know where it is. And I think maybe drawing these sort of moments, which would have been imagined, or sort of photography by Helmut Newton or someone like that, you can, I think you could do it. But again, it's reportage, it's, you know, you're reporting on moments, it's just learning the language that goes with your art. So I think it's you've got a skill. It seems a shame to not bring it down this route, but again, and big, I'd like to see it big. Like I said to Nadia, you know, bigger. How big is this work? How big is it?
What? How big?
What's the size?
No, it's not. Now I don't know. It's not very big. It's like 40 centimeters.
A3. So roughly.
Yeah, A3 more or less. It's
Yeah.
more square than.
Yeah.
And is not very big. But it's interesting that point of doing something more pictorial with those images. I was thinking in the work of the overall winner, Catherine. Catherine is the name.
Yes.
That I liked her work a lot because it's very pictorial.
Yeah.
And I think she combines those two things in the same picture. And I think it's interesting what we are saying. You know, I applied the Fida Awards because of that, because it pushed me to do something otherwise I wouldn't do.
Well, I explain this to people is it's really me posing a question to people, and they can seem quite obvious or maybe seem mundane, but maybe you haven't thought about the fashion show in this way. And you say, okay, maybe I need to try that, because it's an area that isn't capitalized on enough by artists. It tends to be people drawing from magazines of poses, where really and truly the fashion show and the audience and all of them ingredients, and documentary in film is so big. And it seems that illustrators aren't embracing the documentary enough, like documenting moments. And that's why we had the moments, I did the moments, which could be you could do the Oscars. There's so many things for you to paint with moments. So the moments and the fashion show, they're all words that I'm trying to get triggers for people to go, yes, I can develop this into new work and find new opportunities. And that's my goal. Like they're the goals that I have. So it's great when people put in work and I see this great work, I'm like, yes, it's exactly what I'm trying to achieve. And it's maybe my tutor side coming out as well, posing problems and hoping that the students or whoever the applicants will achieve the goals, and they do. So you can see the level is really interesting, the standard, and we've got all these really different styles and techniques. So it's fascinating to see. And we did, that's why we did the classical, because we wanted to people tear back and use just traditional mediums. And then there's another group that could be just digital. And so we don't want to avoid, because people are able to drift between the two, and we shouldn't feel we prefer one over the other, because we don't. They're both valid. And I've worked in mixed media, digital and traditional. So I have to embrace it. I love it. So it works, and you can work quite clever. So we also have some more pictures. So there was 2 here, and I think you put the Harry Styles one was in last time.
Yeah.
And with regards to these 2 images, because with this work, you don't labor over it as much. So compared to your painting, I'm comparing to your painting. Do you feel sometimes you want to work into it more, or is it just because of the medium that you don't?
I didn't understand.
So when you're doing your paintings, your proper paintings, they're very worked into quite heavily, where with your illustrative work, you tend to be a lot more spontaneous. Do you find that you have moments where you work into them too much and you disregard them, or you've learned when to stop? It's the stop moment.
The stop moment is difficult to know when you must stop. Well, the first one, I like when I think the first one is more quick and more spontaneous, and the second one, the Harry Styles one, is more finished. It's like the Dior one that we saw. The artwork's more finished. Over for example, the face is it has more work there. But I like the spontaneous and the lack of how do I say, the lack of elements I use in the first one here. Sometimes the less is the better, no? And I love René Gruot, for example, works, and David Downtown also, obviously. And I think they have this simplicity, this beautiful simplicity, and this way of put the stroke in the paper with security, and this for me is really beautiful. And I enjoy also when I do a more finished work, but I think in the more finished work, more detailed, I continue working with I don't touch very much the paint. I put the stroke and I leave there, you know.
Yeah.
I put the stroke, maybe it's more time, more work, but I don't like to touch a lot the painting, especially, for example, in watercolor. Is sometimes I feel that I touched too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes, of course.
You mentioned David Downton and Rengarour, and I think with regards to Rene and people like that, I can feel a little bit of the flavour on the left, but when I get to the Harry Styles one, I feel a much more artisan, arty approach, which I feel is more of your voice, and that's what I really liked about the Harry Styles one, was because it felt more yours. And that was just my opinion. And everyone has opinions, but I just feel that, wow, there's a real understanding of art making, and it really is pushing the fashion image into an art space, which still I don't think exists. And you can see, if you look at the work of David Downton and people like that, you still feel this, there's so much knowledge there, but it's still illustrative, where yours, I feel, is more art led. And that's the difference. There's a little difference between it feeling illustration and feeling an artist capturing a fashion moment. And that it's really now us finding that balance, which is great. So I feel that you're in the right spaces, which is really good. And maybe it might be nice to see with your canvases, the one that you were the finalist, could you use that approach at a bigger scale? And that would be interesting to see. And I remember listening to talk by William de Kooning, and he was saying that he was talking to Franz Klein about doing less, drawing less, stripping back, making less marks. And I feel that maybe in your painting, you could use your illustration techniques, but at a bigger scale, and just see what happens. And maybe work on paper if you feel more confident. But that would be interesting to test as a test. But, this is why we're here, to have a conversation about this stuff. So
it's a long conversation.
yeah, so we won't be too much longer, but there was these two as well, which I really liked, and they reminded me of the classical fashion artists and capturing moments. But the two together, and the one on the right, a much more art-led, heavy in knowledge, and the one on the left, beautifully done, but felt it could have already been from a moment that happened. So I always like the contrast, and I can see you're like a person learning their craft and looking and learning and looking and learning, and then finding your voice. So it's nice to see the sketches then turn into these sort of more final pieces, and also the models are becoming contemporary, the looks, the hairstyles. That's probably adding a little bit more modernness to the work. So I don't want to be too long, but with regards to your practice, it's great to speak to you. It's great to hear your thoughts. And what I'd love to see is, I guess, the development of things. And maybe I might have sneaked into your head and might trigger you to do some wacky, wonderful pieces. But it's great. It's great to see your work. Keep sharing. I know I've had light conversations, and you've kind of grown into this space, and it is a strange space. We're trying to learn and navigate the space and build our own new language. I feel it's a new language that we're trying to establish for fashion artists, and I feel there's a real space for it. So, I'm grateful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I managed to capture you, which is good, and get you to speak. And please keep posting stuff. It's lovely to see. and, you know, keep entering the awards, because it's great just to see your work. And, you know, anything else, it would be really great to keep seeing what you're doing. And if we have any other ideas, let me see, because there might be a few questions. Everyone's just saying thank you and you're great and we love you. So
wow,
they're the messages coming from everybody. So have a good day.
Thank you, Patrick.
And thank you for joining us and sharing some of your knowledge. And you know, in a little while longer, I would love for us to have an exhibition and show some bigger pieces of your work.
I would like also, of course.
So that would be the plan for next year. It's just a case of organizing it, and everybody's all over the world, which is a very tough one to get things to different places. But there's ways around everything. We can always imagine and think and use our brains. So thank you, Carmen. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Patrick. It's a pleasure for me.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye, Monse. Bye, Patrick.